Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today I'm covering Real Housewives of New York, Season 3, Episode 5, Hot Off the Press. And you guys, this is where it gets so good. I know I say that every episode, but seriously, this is where we see a whole bunch of stuff happen, and I'm so excited to talk about it. So let's get into it. So we start off at Bethenny's apartment. Bethenny is with her assistant Julie, who we saw. I used to watch that spinoff, Bethenny Ever After, and we saw a lot of Julie in that. So she's sitting with Bethenny, and they find this article. It's a gossip article from Gatecrasher, and it's about her and Jill's feud. Like we talked about in last episode, it's obviously planted by Jill or a member of Jill's team, because they mention her event at Saks. They paint Jill in a very favorable light. They knew things about Ungaro. And so she feels very strongly it had to be somebody. It had to be Jill. And Perez Hilton apparently reached out, and he said, "You should hear the interesting thing Jill Zarin has to say about you." So it's brewing. I'm going to get into it in the episode, but I really want to know what your thoughts are on this season and what your thoughts are on this feud specifically, because I really want to get into this. So we'll talk about it. Meanwhile, we go over to Crazy Land where Kelly lives. She's meeting this guy Mike for the interview that goes along with her Playboy pictorial. And, he's kind of cute. You know who he reminds me of? Not looks-wise, but the way he speaks. Did you ever see Sex and the City? He reminds me of Berger. I don't know. There's something about him. I guess Berger was a writer too, and they just have similar mannerisms. So that's all I could think about with him. Oh, Kelly, you're such a mess. So she's flirting with this guy, and he's asking her questions, and she's being this, oh God, I'm going to steal Ramona's word, coquettish. She's just over the top, can't stop touching her hair. And she even says, "Did you see my pictures?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did." And she said, "What do they look like? Can you remind me?" She's fishing for compliments, and it's just kind of funny to watch. So they're both into each other. The interview ends. They come out here. He asks her for a date. She's super giddy about it. I'm going to jump ahead and tell you, we'll talk about it. She talks about this guy a lot in this episode. She talks about it here. She talks about it with Jill. It comes up. She talks about it with her assistant. But, she gets real weird. So we're going to get there. So we go over to Victoria and Lou. It's Victoria's been drawing. She loves to draw, wants to be a designer. That's cool. Okay, so Lou starts talking to her about the possibility of dating, and she said, nobody's serious. It's not anybody she's going to introduce to the kids yet, but this is about the time where she met Jacques behind the scenes. So it's just interesting to see this time in her life. She looks different. She seems different. It's just interesting. We see Jill and Allie here, and Allie I always liked. I enjoy her. Jill always bugged me. No, I take that back. This is where Jill really started to bug me. She started out okay. I remember liking her before this season, but this season, she's awful. She's being sweet with her daughter. They're there to take pictures for 17, Allie's prom dress and prom issue, and Jill's being a stage mom, dancing around and trying to get her to smile. It's cute. Kelly shows up for moral support, and it's sweet. She's there to help support Allie. Kelly was a longtime model, and she knows about her, and Jill's making a big deal because I don't know what you call it, the woman running the shoot knew Kelly, so she's like, "Kelly's with us." So, yeah, you just kind of see some Jillisms here. So Kelly ends up telling Jill about her excitement over this guy that interviewed her and asking her out, and she's excited to get out there and go on dates and stuff. So then we go over to Alex at Cipriani's. Now, she's on the board of Brooklyn Fashion Weekend, which I think it's funny that they do it in a weekend. So they're trying to decide who's going to be the headline designer who will close out the show. She invited all the girls to help her pick and take a look. And, so the theme is Manhattan goes to Brooklyn. Bethenny is asking about the Saks event. Kelly brings up how Ramona was being mean and the things she said, but that she doesn't want her to say them anymore. Ramona is just over the top. Believe me, I'm not a Kelly fan, but Ramona's too much. Ramona's saying, there's nothing mean about what I said. It was factual. Well, let me remind you, she said that Kelly's boob are going this way and this way. Wow. So Bethenny brings up this whole Jill situation, and Ramona is pretending like her haircut has changed her. I love this season so much. She's pretending like this haircut has made her, I'm just not going to get involved. And, I just don't think Jill would put it in the paper. And Bethenny says the world doesn't have to be what's important to you. Kelly says that Bethenny's sitting there like, poor me, I'm so innocent. So Bethenny and Kelly kind of get into a tussle, a fight. And Ramona tries to break it up, as does Alex. That's when Simon arrives, and everybody's actually excited to see Simon, which is hilarious. Here's a designer. It's one of the first ones we see bring out her fashions, and oh goodness, this fashion, this makeup. Here's the outfit. I'll let you make your own judgments on this one. But Simon's face, oh, it's so creepy. Oh, that's a lot of makeup. Okay, purple eyebrows. Sorry, I feel like I'm having a stroke. Ramona says something real shitty, like, that's the difference between Brooklyn and Manhattan. So then they see a designer whose stuff they absolutely love. So Ramona and Alex have gone to try on this stuff. Meanwhile, Bethenny and Kelly are trying to figure this out and make up. So we got Ramona doing this nonsense right here, flashing her hoo-ha, trying to sit down. They kind of give an artificial hug and kind of make up, but neither one of them are super into it. We see Ramona meeting up with a girlfriend for lunch. They're talking about her haircut and this whole new attitude. My God, if I had a drinking game for every time she talks about this damn haircut, I'd be shit-canned right now. She's explained that the renewal came from her father's passing away. As we have come to find out, her father was a terrible person, and I think passing away freed some stuff up for her. So I'm going to leave that at that. I don't like Ramona, but that's a terrible story. So then we go to Kelly's apartment, and this is where things get real weird with Kelly. So remember I was saying, she seems super into this guy, and I said I was going to talk about it. Let's talk about it. That was just so weird. It struck me weird. She can go out with whomever she wants. That's up to her, but she spent the whole episode playing up this guy. She talked to several people about it. She was giddy. She was excited. She kind of encouraged him to ask her out, and she seemed thrilled. And then it's like all of a sudden she said, you know what? No, I don't want to mix business and pleasure. I don't think that's appropriate. But she doubles down saying, I used to be married to Jill Ben Simone, who is fashion editor, I think, at Elle magazine. And so it raises an eyebrow because she talks about his status and then talks about turning down this writer guy. I just thought that was interesting. And I'm definitely picking up something there. So then we see her get an email from Jill. And, Jill is getting so full of herself. She sends this email to Kelly that says, hey, a little birdie told me that you're all good with Bethenny. I sadly am not. Thought you really cared. Good luck with B. You're going to need it. Jill. I mean, that's a shitty thing to do to somebody. To try to put her in the middle like that and make her decide and try to turn her against Bethenny. It's just further proof of what Jill's doing. And we're going to talk about Jill next, believe me. So, speak of the devil, you got Frick and Frack over here, the Bobbsey twins, Jill and Lou. And so Lou is trying to find an apartment in the city. So while she doesn't have something when she comes in, she stays with Jill. She brings her this gift, and you guys, if you didn't pay attention to the scene, go back and watch it because it's the funniest damn thing I've ever seen. Lou gives Jill this huge wine glass that says, go big or go home. And it's so tacky and it's whatever. It's just a silly gift, whatever. But look at Lou's face. You guys, she cracked herself up for forever after this. Even after Jill left the room, this is her cracking up at the camera about go big and go home. She was very proud of herself for this gift. Seriously, my favorite part of the episode. I encourage you, if you're having a bad day, go back and watch this because it's so silly. Okay, moving on. So we got the big scene. Bethenny decides to call Jill. She said Jill's letting everyone know they're in an argument. I want to talk to her. So Jill answers, and this is where we see a whole new Jill. So Jill asks if she can put Bethenny on speaker, and Bethenny immediately catches on, is like, why? And do you have people there and stuff? And Jill kind of dances around it, cops to it. Obviously, she's doing this for the cameras and for Lou to hear, and it's just bullshit. So here's Lou pretending to not be there and be like, shh, don't tell her I'm here. So Bethenny's trying to say how disproportionate this argument is in the press and how Jill's playing the message and it's just gotten so big, she wants to sit down and fix it. Why is it so enormous? Jill's answer, I don't think it matters why it's so enormous. That's my Jill impersonation. And Bethenny says, well, then that speaks volumes. Jill is like, I wish you the best, and I always will. Okay, so we know the argument. Let's talk about what's really going on here. So we have the benefit of hindsight, and I have watched so many interviews from Andy and her, Bethenny, and everybody else saying Jill thought she was just going to rule the season. She thought she was going to have everybody in her court. She thought the audience was totally going to side with her against Bethenny, and she just thought she was in the right, and there was no way she was going to make up with Bethenny because that was not in her best interest, or so she thought. This is about the time where Bethenny's business took off huge, her popularity took off huge. I mean, you know, she had so much personal stuff going on with Jason and the baby and losing her dad and stuff, so it was just the craziest timing because she actually did appear to want to make up with Jill, and Jill was so only seeing her side and thinking about it from the point of view of, will the audience love me? They'll love this. They'll love that I'm against Bethenny, you know. And yeah, little did she know it ended up spectacularly like blowing up in her face. So everybody ended up hating Jill and loving Bethenny. And I mean, this is kind of where we see that play out. So Lou's sitting here making this face the whole time. Jill is just totally full of herself and playing it up for the camera big time and making this face. Oh, Jill. And then Bethenny is like breaking down on the street. This is before she announced she was pregnant. She's wearing loose clothing. And Jill's just laughing. I know she had no way of knowing. I'm just saying it's just interesting to see this play out. Now, believe me, I liked Bethenny a lot back in this season. I do not care for present-day Bethenny. I actually think Bethenny has become somewhat like Jill. I think she's a different person. It's a whole nother story. I don't want to turn anybody off by saying that, but I'm not a huge fan of Bethenny. But back in, I did like Bethenny a lot. I like what she was doing with her business. I like that she was trying to make an effort with Jill, and Jill just royally screwed this up. So Jill ends up hanging up the call. They go back and forth. They've argued, especially about Bobby, and Jill's trying to say Bethenny wasn't there for her, and it's a whole thing. So they hang up. Bethenny is crying and upset, and this is what's happening with Jill. She's eating it up. She thinks it's more of a storyline. So we see her making that face. Then we see a flash of next time. We got the most iconic scene ever of Bethenny and Ramona walking over the bridge, and Ramona just eviscerating Bethenny with her words. It's so crazy. I can't wait to talk about it. Oh my gosh. We got Jill and Alex in a very serious conversation here. I believe Alex was genuinely trying to help them, get their friendship back on track. Ramona and her new haircut are trying to be the peacemaker, and she's like, hey, just so you know, Jill's coming to my house, so why don't you come over and you guys can talk. Well, Lou pissed me off big time. I remember this. She intercepted and was like, no, this isn't happening. No. Well, Jill, again, played this all wrong. Was like, nope, I can't. This is an ambush. Bethenny's just trying to talk to her. Jill doesn't want to talk because that would mess up her storyline. And that is it for the episode. I am so enjoying the season. It's so good. So much fun to watch, to do this rewatch with you guys. I'm really loving it. I hope you are too. It's so much stuff is happening. It's unbelievable. But thank you guys so much for watching. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought. You can comment below. You can follow me on Twitter at Real Recaps. And I thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.